So there's a generic, like a general love. Generally, we need to love as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Then there's a very specific and unique love. And that unique and specific love is he needs to learn how to love her heart.
Yeah.
And if he can get very specific about that, he will open up her spirit and open up her heart.
Hey, it's Greg Smalley. Great to be with you. I've got such a special treat for you today because we're going to talk about biblical masculinity. And what does that really look like inside of a real marriage? So, not on a podcast, not on a stage, but what does this really mean inside of our marriage? So, I've got two incredible guests. So, Jim and Shanna Ramos, authors, podcasters, just incredible people. You guys have been married how long?
On February 1st, 33 and a half years exactly.
Nice. Okay, so we're celebrating
Super easy.
half years now. Good. So 33, is that what you said?
33.
33, congrats.
Yeah.
Because Aaron and I are that's right. I remember this from the last conversation. We're like a few months ahead of you.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
So-
yep.
So I'm going to use all that wealth of other experience and knowledge to really kind of lead this discussion. So I'm excited to have you guys here. So thanks for being here with me.
Thanks for having us. It's
Yeah.
an honor.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Seeing the facility here at Focus
Yeah.
and just knowing what you guys are doing, it's a blessing to be invited.
Well, we love what you're doing. So we're all in this together to help
Yeah.
men and women thrive as individuals, thrive as a couple. So maybe, Jim, why don't you run with this idea of real biblical masculinity? So not how you're going to appear on a podcast, not that you would be different there
Yeah.
or on a stage, but what does that really mean? What does that look like?
Well, whenever I go off script and I am somebody on the podcast that I'm not in real life, she reminds me of it, which is a blessing. Like, be authentic, be who you are. And so to me, when I think of biblical masculinity, I go back to about 2.5 years into our marriage. We're really struggling.
Yeah.
We're two low maintenance people in a high maintenance marriage. And I was convicted to outlove and outserve her. And I didn't know that her love language was acts of service at the time, but God knew. And so when I tell people I was 30 years old, it was 1995 when that happened. And that was the day I became a man. I was a head football coach. I was a pastor, but that was the day, because that was the day I vowed to God through prayer and then to her that I would outlove and outserve her. And so when I think of biblical masculinity, I think of trying to live my life like Jesus in front of my family.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just, telling guys what to do. It's really trying to live my life according to Jesus. But because my relationship with her is one tier down from my relationship with Jesus, and I'm called to be Christ to her, I'm never more masculine than when I'm being Christ to my wife. So that's how I view biblical masculinity.
I like that. So it sounded like there was a moment, though, that you had to give him some feedback. Maybe he wasn't
I would
showing
say
up quite that way.
non-constructive
Yeah.
criticism.
How did that go? Yeah, because it's hard, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Inside of our marriage,
Yeah.
whether you're a man or a woman, to give or even to receive. How'd that conversation go?
Well, I think I wouldn't say that they were conversations. they were more duels.
Battles,
Yes.
fights.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not
She's being
not
very gentle
healthy.
and kind in that.
They were not healthy
Okay.
forms of communication.
Yeah, in what? Just because it was more just
We were just both
Just-
pretty volatile. Neither of us could be wrong. And
Yeah.
so
it's a lot of pride, a lot
Yeah.
of hurts, shut down. Yeah, so things weren't going well. I mean, how did that touch your heart? Because when Aaron and I have those moments to where we approach each other, we're frustrated, shut down, all that. And it never goes well. How did that ended up?
For me,
Going well.
for me personally, I remember going before the Lord. Now I realize I prayed, this is sad and embarrassing. I prayed that God would take her out. Like, I'm not going to divorce her, but God, do something to get her out of my life.
Well, yeah.
It was that bad.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm going to live 70 years of my life with somebody I hate. I married an angel, but I woke up with something not that. And she married her dream guy and woke up in a nightmare. So we were struggling. And I remember I got to a point, and this was hard for me. It still resonates with me. And I just say, God, I'm going to outlove and outserve her, even if she never reciprocates, because that's what you did for me.
Yeah.
And that really Gosh, it gets emotional still.
I know.
Yeah.
I have to rely on
Yeah.
that.
Hey, we always say your tears are welcome.
But you know what
here.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I realized, man, I could live my whole life having a horrible life, serving a woman who isn't reciprocating.
Mm.
But I thought, man, that's exactly what Jesus did for me.
Yeah.
So that's what
Mhm.
biblical masculinity is.
Yeah. And I like that because oftentimes we hear, people asking, how do we have a better marriage? And I always feel bad breaking the news to them that
Yes.
that's actually a horrible question because it takes two of us. Like I don't have the ability on my own to create the kind of marriage that Aaron and I really long for.
Mhm.
But the right question is, how do I be a better husband? How for Erin, how does she be a better wife? And what I like about that is that that's where you were drawn to saying, regardless of what happens and how it impacts her, that's how I'm going to show up. That's how I feel God calling me to show up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I just wrote a book. It's coming out in April. It's called Guardrails: 10 Boundaries for an Unbreakable Marriage. It's not a marriage
Yeah.
book. It's a
Congratulations.
men's book about marriage.
Yeah.
But in that book, I had this discovery, and it affirmed the last 30 years of my marriage. God says, "I will make," in Genesis 2:18, "I will make a helper suitable."
Mhm.
Says it again in Genesis 2:20. That is the Hebrew phrase, ezer kenegdo. You know this. You
Yeah.
heard me on this extensively.
Yeah.
And but that's not what hit me. What hit me was the part where he said in Genesis 2:24, "And a man will leave his father and mother and cleave
Right.
to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." So leave, cleave, and weave. And that cleave part hit me. I went and I thought, what does that word mean?
Hmm.
And it's the Hebrew word dabak,
Mm-hmm.
has 4 meanings. And the fourth one, women are going to love this. It means to pursue, overtake, and chase after.
Mm.
And so part of my job in her life is to pursue her, overtake her, and chase after her, which is exactly, again, what Jesus did for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's to your point that
Mhm.
that's out serving her, out
Yep.
sacrificing for her, out
Mhm.
loving her, regardless of what she's doing. So when a husband shows up, so when Jim shows up
Mhm.
kind of in that spot of, we're human and you have your bad days, your good days, all that.
Right.
But when he's operating out of that, I'm going to, closely pursue you, chase after you, love you, serve you. Like, how does that impact you? What does that do?
That is my favorite gym, and we call that vacation gym.
That's vacation.
He needs to come around more.
Apparently, yeah.
No, it just for me, it makes me feel valued
Mhm.
and desired
Mhm.
and wanted and needed. And who doesn't want to feel that way?
It sounds like too, it speaks to your heart in terms of helping you to feel safe.
Absolutely.
When he's showing up that way, when
Yes.
he's pursuing, when he's operating in that way that God's
Right.
called him to be, it has to then translate into, yeah, not only does he value me, but I'm safe to open up and to reveal
Yes.
who I really am, and I can trust that he's going to accept me and love me and serve me and do all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because that's a
'Cause
big deal.
it's really hard to open up if the other party is not 100% there.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So, because
Yeah.
you're just talking words basically, and they're not hearing.
Yeah. It sounds like it too, especially they're not there in terms of probably emotionally
Right.
available, which probably gets back to maybe some of the myths or the way our culture kind of drives defining, masculinity. Like what's the big difference between what you're saying, man, this is biblical masculinity and just how the culture might.
So I believe there are 2 types of male species on the planet. There are males,
Yeah.
which is a biological male. You have hair on your head and armpits, male,
Yeah.
adult, and then there are men. And so those are different species.
Mm.
One, this adult male is about form. He looks like a male.
Mm.
This one is about function. He acts like a man,
Mm.
right? This one is about maybe more of appearance. This one is more about action. So a biblical man shows up for his bride. My role in her life is to serve her and love her like Christ loved her, so that her spirit is always open to me,
Mhm.
just the way God ministers to my spirit, so that I'm always open to him. That's my goal.
Mm.
So I want to engage her. I want to be present. Manhood is really just showing up for your wife, showing up for your, I mean, it's, in a lot of ways, it's a little simplistic what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
but it's pretty simple. A man needs to show up to his
Yeah.
bride.
To be present.
Yeah,
I
to be
mean,
present,
yeah.
emotionally,
Right.
and not just physically.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we can be working, we can be doing all these things. And
There's so many
yeah.
distractions.
Yeah. I mean, just the other day, it was interesting because I was, um, Erin is finishing up her doctorate, so she's
Uh-huh.
kind of at the dissertation phase, so right at the end.
That's
Mm.
the level.
So I've been really working on, I'm gonna pull whatever responsibilities I can pull
Mm.
off of her plate, whatever those might look like. And I remember I was seeing at the sink, finishing up dishes. Like in our family, we've always, whoever cooks, the other cleans. So I've been doing a lot
Yep.
more cooking,
Mm-hmm.
thinking then, well, then she'll clean. But then I went, man, I'm gonna do the clean. I'm
Double
gonna
down.
cooking and all that. I was standing there feeling kind of prideful, kind of going, man, I'm in a
man.
zone. Like
She's gonna
I am.
affirm me.
Yes, I am doing exactly what
Yep,
every wife dreams of. I'm in to hear her talking to me later on that night, just saying, I feel so disconnected from you. And I just remember going, how? Like,
Yeah.
look what I'm doing. Look at all I literally started the list off only to kind of go, all right, maybe that's not what she's talking about. But just the importance of that emotional availability
Right.
is probably absent a lot of the times when we think about masculinity. Do, provide, work, be strong, take care of the noises and the bugs,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's what I was going to say. Just we get in our lanes,
Yeah.
but it doesn't coincide.
Yeah.
So we are disconnected.
Yeah. What does that look like for you guys? Like, how have you navigated that? And I know it's not perfect because
No.
Aaron and I do a good job of the integration, and then there's moments, probably like the other night, was what Aaron was trying to communicate is that we're in separate lanes right now. But how do
Yeah.
you guys kind of deal with that?
I think that's probably one of our biggest struggles is his calendar.
And yours.
So I try to bid my schedule
Yeah.
every month to kind of match his. So I'm gone on his busy days,
Yeah.
but then it seems to happen that things get added.
We're in the middle of a
after.
book launch.
Yeah.
So what I've committed to is 2 days a week, 2 times a month speaking,
Okay.
gone.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Helps to sell books
in
that way.
April,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
April it's 3.
Okay.
And I never talked to her about that.
Hmm.
And so, and I'm in 3 commitments I can't get out of. So now I blew it.
Hmm.
Because, and that closes her spirit to me.
Yeah.
Because I blew it.
Yeah.
I know I blew it, and I blew it anyway. I chose to blow it, you know.
Yeah.
So, which goes back to,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things I've learned about this whole leadership thing and about opening her spirit. You know, a lot of men say, I've provided for you. Why do you want to divorce me?
Right.
Or I've protected you, you know.
Yeah.
And I came across this word in 1 Timothy 3. Paul's listing off the 20 qualifications of a leader, which I wrote about and dialed in, which you
Yeah.
had me on. And there's this one, he spends more time on one of the 20 aspects than any other of all others combined. He talks about the man managing his household well. And twice he uses the word manage. He never talks about leadership. He uses the word manage. And the Greek word is proistomai.
Okay.
And it means to preside, protect, and provide. And God gave me this, I had this like supernatural experience where God showed me a picture of a house.
Yeah.
My job is to provide. I need to cover her. She needs to know she's under a covering of a man who's going to protect her. I need to actually protect her. I have to build a world around our home that she knows she's safe inside of it, and I won't step out or leave her. But then the last one, this is the one I can grow more in, is I need to provide for her. Not physical provision.
Yeah.
I need to provide for her heart. Inside every heart, every house, you have rooms. Those rooms represent those walls represent the rooms of people who live within that house, right? Your children, grandchildren, and her. She's the most important. So I need to inspect the walls around our figurative bedroom to see how her heart is doing.
Yeah.
Because I can give her everything in the world tangibly, but if I'm not dealing with the intangibles, I'm going to have a broken and struggling marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Shanna, maybe coach us guys for a moment.
Yes.
Like, what does that mean? What does that look like if we're really pursuing you emotionally? What are some of the ways that would show up?
I think every woman is different,
Sure.
just like every man. So what speaks to me isn't going to speak to Erin
Yeah.
or any other wife. But I think knowing that what your love languages are, I think those are huge.
Yeah. Because you said, didn't you, was yours acts of service? Yeah.
And we did not know that until
Okay.
way, way late.
But God did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought mine were different.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I think being able to communicate what those love languages are, so you can act upon those. Because if yours is words of affirmation,
Which it is.
but
you.
most men
Yes,
are.
You're so awesome.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
I feel so full. Yeah.
Mine's the same.
Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah.
But we have to work on those because his is words of affirmation as well. I am horrible at giving words of affirmation. So I have to work on that.
Yeah.
She's been working out the last 5 years. And it's so funny because she'll be like, "Oh, your arms feel so big," and I'm like, "That's not it." But thank you for trying. It's like I'm trying to teach her, and she's trying to teach me too, which is the beauty of marriage. Like we're 33 and a half years into this thing, and we're still like teaching each other. Like I just learned, Greg. I just learned 2 years ago that she preferred crunchy peanut butter over creamy.
What?
She always bought
Really?
creamy, Greg.
I was going to say, I love the creamy, but you preferred the crunchy.
I do.
See,
But
you
our
didn't
kids
know that.
liked creamy, so that's what we
So
got.
you were serving,
Sacrifice.
So the mystery of mine, like I want to get a PhD in Shanna.
Yeah.
I want to love her better than anybody could love her. And my lifelong goal is to study her.
Yeah.
I have no energy to give any other woman my emotional capacity, just her.
Yeah.
And when I give her my emotional capacity, she feels safe.
Safe,
Yeah.
secured, loved.
Loved all of it.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point, which is, even for whatever your reasons, if there's something cool about constantly rediscovering each
Yes.
other in terms of, I thought you liked creamy peanut butter, you
Mhm.
like crunchy, because we're always changing.
Right.
And I love what you said. That's a part of that cleave, meaning close
Yes.
pursuit, to where we can lead out, we can pursue by drawing out, how are you changing? What's different? I mean, asking all those questions, being
Right.
curious. I mean, all that.
And not being afraid to do that. Like
Yeah.
so many people, their kids leave the house and now they're afraid to be together because they don't know each
Yeah.
other at all.
Yeah.
And so to not let your marriage get to that point,
Yeah.
I think is huge.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you think guys, maybe too, and wives, you can speak to this, but especially for guys, how do we misunderstand what godly biblical leadership really means? And I'll say it this way, because what struck me is I just kind of informally begin to ask people, how do you define that?
Yeah.
And it seemed like 90% of the time we were defining leadership as decision making. When it comes down to it, if we can't decide, then the husband makes the decision or whatever. But it was fascinated me that so much when I would ask that, it would revolve around making decisions. What do you think
That's
the
really
average guy
interesting.
really understands that biblical leadership to
Yeah.
mean?
Within our household, she makes most decisions about what the house looks like.
Yeah.
I can live in a tent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care. You put
Yeah.
a couple antlers up there, I'm okay. When it comes to like, how do we live our lives? How does our household move forward with vision? I tend to drive that. But here's the interesting thing. I only can drive that to the degree in which she trusts me.
Yeah.
So leadership, in my opinion, is not so much, well, I look at Jesus, right? Hebrews 4:15. We do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who is tempted in every way just as we were, yet was without sin.
Yeah.
So my job in being Jesus to her and modeling biblical masculinity is to become the man, that she can trust. What I tell guys in this book we have written coming out in April, deserve the bride you desire. If she
Yeah.
has a man who is worthy of her,
Yeah.
she will gladly follow that guy to hell with a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Like, because she trusts him.
Yeah.
And when
Feel
we
safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
Feel
feels
secure
safe. He's not
within
gonna
that. Yeah.
The greatest words she ever spoke to me in 33 years of marriage. I get emotional again. We were having breakfast as a family. That was our tradition. And I said, hey, God's calling Dad to this. I had a 16, 18, and 12-year-old in the house, or right around there. And they all kind of had their 2 cents. And she said in front of the boys, I've trusted you for 20 years. You've never let me down. I will trust you some more. Talk about words of affirmation. Talk about trust. Talk about submission.
Yeah.
That was the
Sure,
moment.
that spoke to your heart like
Yeah.
nothing could have.
But she did it
Yeah.
because she trusted a guy
Yeah.
who had proven worth
Mhm.
to her.
Yeah. So what about, because I know someone's listening to this going, that's great, man, Jim, wait, well done.
Yeah.
That's not my husband. He doesn't show up in
Mhm.
trustworthy ways, or he's broken trust. How, I imagine within your marriage, that we do things all the time, little, big,
Mhm.
I'm not talking about infidelity. I'm talking about just ways when we're selfish.
Mhm.
I would argue that there's a breaking of trust even in those moments to some degree. Have you guys repaired that stuff over the years?
Well, we really don't hold a lot back.
Okay.
So we have really short accounts in our marriage.
I was going to say that.
So we know where we stand at all times.
100%.
And
Yeah.
that can be taken as destructive sometimes by outsiders.
Okay.
But for us, I don't want to have long-standing accounts where I'm harboring
Right.
bitterness,
Right.
resentment, and that kind of
That's
stuff.
when apathy develops, hearts
Mhm.
begin to harden.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So
And I would say she just hit the nail on the head. She hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
I would say talking to the wife who's saying that,
yeah.
she needs to, first of all, pray vigilantly and diligently for that man of hers,
Mm-hmm.
and pray that he finds other men who can lead him towards Jesus and get him hungry. I just think when a man gets it, everyone wins. And if a man is not serving the
Mhm.
Lord and the wife is, which is very common, I don't know other place she has but to just trust in God to build her man, right? You've talked about that a
And
lot before.
get on her knees. Yeah.
Yeah.
And pray within her heart.
Yeah.
So and maybe find a woman that has maybe gone through that before,
Yeah.
is on the other side of that. But if you are contemplating like divorce or anything like that, do not surround yourself with divorced women because you probably will end up divorced. I mean,
Right.
statistically,
Yeah.
because it's easy to
Yeah.
talk about divorce, I
Right.
guess, instead of working
Right.
through your
Feel that
marriage.
discouragement and that hopelessness, and
Yeah,
because we have an enemy. So
exactly.
we
Who
do have the
wants to
spiritual
destroy
warfare who's whispering,
marriage?
see, look,
Yes,
they're
Against
okay
marriage.
now. They went through it. I mean, yeah,
right.
totally.
So surround yourself with
Yeah.
healthy women in
Yeah.
marriage.
Community is
Mhm.
that is so important because marriage is a team sport.
Yes.
Yeah, not an individual sport. So when you, like you're talking about for you, that biblical masculinity is really understanding what God is calling you to do, to love, to
Mhm.
sacrifice, to out serve her. For the guy going, I like that. What am I doing there? Like how does that play out?
So for me and my situation, I took a huge risk to be like Jesus to my wife.
Yeah.
Which I think God is asking every Christian man to do that. But for me, what played out is I didn't plan this. It unleashed something in her that she actually reciprocated.
Hmm.
And I do think that if a man learns to love his woman the right way, and so there's a generic, like a general love. Generally, we need to love as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Then there's a very specific and unique love. And that unique and specific love is he needs to learn how to love her heart.
Yeah.
And if he can get very specific about that, he will open up her spirit and open up her heart. And the hard part about women that I've seen experientially through counseling all these years is when a woman closes her mind to a man in her heart, man, that's a bad place for the marriage. She's a lot more apt to throw that marriage away. And a lot of times guys are caught off guard.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to constantly pursue their hearts so that we don't get caught off guard. Like I go to her regularly and say, 1 to 10, where are we? And I take that number very seriously because your dad, I think, said this to me for the first time. She's the thermometer in the marriage, but I'm the thermostat. I'm the temperature. I'm going to change the atmosphere here, but she's got to tell me what temperature. And so that has been a
Sounds
game
like
changer.
him.
Yeah.
I mean, he would talk about how
Mhm.
a wife has kind of this built-in marriage manual.
Yes.
Just in research has shown that's true. Just your intuition, you are much quicker to to gauge something, we're disconnect, something's not going right, and then maybe bring it up, even, in a good way, a bad way, but you'll bring that up, and then you get like a Dr. John Gottman that says, and therefore the man who accepts his wife's influence is a high predictor of their successful marriage. So it's
Mm.
not her accepting his influence, it's him accepting her influence. And that's, again, I would say that's God's design. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how he created it, designed it. That makes sense. And that's hard because we want to be strong and independent and have the answers and not feel failed. And so if she's bringing it up, it's easy to argue that and to dismiss it or defend against it. And
Well,
then there you go, and you're just spinning around.
I think a lot of times people think they need to do all 20 steps
Mm.
for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And if you just start small
Yeah.
and do that, otherwise you're going to burn out,
Yeah.
just like with anything. Like
Yeah.
you can't go all in every day for 50 years doing all 50 things every
Yeah.
day.
Just
Do
think
that.
about the one for
Mhm.
you in the season. I mean, every season's different
Totally.
and all that. What's an example of kind of for you? What's that one thing that you're really focused on doing to keep your marriage strong? Is there anything in particular that stands out?
I think being completely true, never spending time with another man
Okay.
alone,
Yeah.
which would be very easy to do in my job.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've done that from day one, so it's not anything out of the normal.
Yeah.
I
Culture.
mean, yeah,
Sure.
some people look at me like I'm crazy,
Yeah.
and that's fine. They
Yeah.
can, but that's what I believe is really that is number one.
Yeah. And
So
I like that. I mean, you think of like a a a Song of Solomon, guard against the little foxes that can come and
mhm,
destroy your marriage or your vineyard of love. But that's a great example for you. That's
mhm.
kind of one of those little foxes just in your career as a flight attendant.
Yeah,
There's plenty of opportunity, but that's what you're seeing as far as, but that's guarding, protecting, guarding, get that little fox. Cause you're right. That, that's the kind of relationship that can develop so subtly. And all of a sudden, you know, weeks, months later, you're in a relationship. You're like, whoa, how did I get here?
right.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about for you?
I would just say I'm one choice away from stupid. I know what I'm
We all
capable
are,
of.
yeah.
Like I know what
Wow,
I'm
that-
capable of, and
It's
so
a
I guard
healthy
against that.
perspective. Sure.
And so the thing that impacted me was something you said. So 20 years, she said she was hanging out with working with a woman who was going through divorce, a pastor's wife, and she
Yeah.
was divorcing her husband just because she wanted out. And she kept saying to me, "Hey, I'm tired. Our marriage needs help. Our marriage needs help."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh man, everything's great." And finally, she said, "No, no, really, we're not in trouble of ever getting divorced, but I'm not doing well."
Yeah.
So we took a test, a marriage test assessment, and I scored an 89, man. I'm wrong. I'm good. I'm like an A
I
minus.
mean,
Marriage is good for me.
take that and run.
She scored a 32. And I looked at her and I said, and I don't know if you remember this.
I
said,
do.
no matter whatever it takes, I'm gonna fix this. Thermostat.
Yeah.
And the counseling session was hilarious, which I won't get into. I guess you could DM me or something. I could tell you, but God fixed our marriage
Wow.
because I finally acknowledged
Yeah.
the truth of what she'd been saying.
Yeah. Because on the flip side, you could have defended that. You could
Yep.
have given the 20 reasons why that's not true. And thus now you're in this weird power struggle and shut down. Like, yeah.
Mm.
And those moments are hard.
Yep.
I mean, when Aaron, we were on the most romantic trip of our life. It was right around our, I don't like our 25th wedding anniversary on a cruise ship, sunset, like just perfect.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm like,
Ah,
hey, Aaron, how do you think we're doing as a couple? What would you rate it? And I'm thinking, I mean, here we are, like 8 minimum,
Yeah.
probably 9. And she said 6. Same thing.
Oh no.
And I was like, I was so hurt. I was so
What?
offended. And yet the value of that was being able to get beyond the initial I'm failing or whatever I was going through to then lean in and say, wow, okay.
yeah.
So what would it look like to begin to move? Why does it feel that way? Like if you are willing to mine that sort of answer, if you're
Uh-huh.
courageous enough to ask it,
That's
really
important.
courageous,
Yeah.
and then you're willing to draw out that built-in marriage manual in a sense,
Yeah.
man, yeah, the information you get is remarkable. I so appreciate your willingness to be honest, because again, we all have those moments to where we're gonna check in on how our marriage is doing, and we may find wonderful news, we may find hard news. So I love that you were honest in how that really shaped, for you guys and brought you into a different season. I will tell you, you can ask that hard question if you're courageous enough, as we talked about, 0 to 10, how would you rate our marriage? Another easy way to kind of figure this out is, remember, we've got our free marriage assessment. We'll put the link in the comment section. So go ahead and take that. Again, totally free. It's going to show you how you guys are doing on 10 different behaviors that are so important within marriage. So it'll show you what you're doing well in some of your growth areas. Don't hesitate to take that, because that's going to inspire just such great conversations. You guys can level up like you just heard. Well, you guys, I don't think we've covered everything that we were hoping to. So would you be willing to come back for one more intervw?
How much? How much you gonna pay us?
I believe the checks are already in the mail.
Service right there, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Man, she's a
I've
tough
words of affirmation.
negotiator.
The fact that you asked me was my words of affirmation coming out. Yes, yes, yes.
Show
just
me
kidding.
the money.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Oh, that's so funny.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got new videos coming out all the time. Hit that little bell and it'll notify you when a new video comes out. We want to help your family thrive in Christ.